All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. This is the first in a series of our Arctic Security Insight webinars that we're going to be doing. Your microphones are muted, but chat is available for any questions that you might have as we go through this discussion. I'm welcome. Any comments are welcome, and then should be some time for some feedback and some questions at the end. Without further ado, let's get started. Today we're going to talk about cybersecurity assessments and breaking in and how breaking in can help you to build some stronger security. My name is Cliff Jansen. I'm the CISO and VP of Security Professional Services. Joining me on the line are a couple other people from the cybersecurity team, Tim Tipton and Wade Guest, and we're very happy to be part of this. Also joining us is Robert Tran. He's our marketing a director extraordinaire. So thank you for all your support in helping us to get this to this point. So first, just a little bit about Arctic. Arctic, if you noticed, it has the IQ at the end. That IQ stands for intelligence. So we're here to help provide some intelligence throughout the organization in a bunch of different ways. Our main thrusts are security, infrastructure, and platform engineering. We are a combination of some companies that came together in 2023, and we've been adding companies as well in 2024 in order to be able to support people and customers throughout North America. The area that I'm particularly interested in is, of course, security. But the Arctic approach, wherever you're going to be going, our first step is always to understand your business, your challenges, your pain points, and then collaboratively we build a plan to get you to where we want to be. And then from that plan, we're going to make sure that we're executing it according to your desires. We're very client first, customer first. That's always our number one priority is you. And so the way that we do this architecture intelligence is we're doing it through every phase of the life cycle of your of any purchase that you're making, a service that you're doing, a professional service that you're implementing. We have something that'll go across everything. So it's not just a framework, it's a comprehensive methodology to help organizations throughout everything with managed services right there in the middle. Today's focus is to insight IQ. So this is how to know your current state. What's my security stance right now? And the way that you are going to typically do this is once on the security side is to do some sort of vulnerability assessment or penetration test. And so that's what we're here to talk about is the penetration testing part of it. So why should we care about penetration testing? While there is some financial and operational risks of cyber threats, one of the risks is it's definitely an economic incentive. The bad guys are out there to make money from cybercrime because this is where the money is. So cybersecurity incidents could cost the world economy 3.5 trillion by 2025. So this isn't just ransomware. This is also business email compromise and those types of things. But it's a lot of money. Since 2011, there's been a 45% increase in non-compliance costs. So non-compliance is you may be dealing with healthcare information, private information, credit card information, and non-compliance means something somewhere is going to fine you for not being compliant. So this has increased a lot since 2011. Of course, 2011 was quite a while ago, but this is compliance bodies have been using costs, basically finding people in order to help to make sure that people follow the regulations to keep the data secure. The average ransom paid in 2024 was 2.73 million, which is almost an increase over $1 million over 2023. So this is a little bit of just a little background on this one is, this is reported ransomware. So this could be like lots of people don't report ransom. So typically this is large organizations that are paying this. And one of the reasons for this is because at the time they had good insurance coverage. However, we'll talk in a minute how the insurance coverage is becoming a little bit more expensive than it used to be. The other potential problem, of course, with a cyber threat is downtime. So it could be ransomware is going to cause a downtime, and on average, it can be up to 24 days of downtime before a company is to where they were, before the ransomware was inserted into their organization. And then the most common tactics that hackers are going to use to carry out ransom email attacks are phishing campaigns, looking for RDP or other ways to get in from the outside, and software vulnerabilities. This is according to Cybersecurity Agency. All the links at the bottom are where these are coming from. And finally, the last one I want to just talk about is 93% of ransomware is Windows-based executable. So Windows by far is the biggest operating system that most of our environments use. So of course, that's the biggest attack surface. That doesn't mean that Macs and Linux are safe. It just means this is where they're going where the money is. The money is on Windows because that's where most organizations are working through. So what we are talking about today is penetration testing and how it can help us to determine whether or not we're susceptible to some of those things that we just talked about in order to shore up our defenses so that we're not available, that we're compliant, and that we're not going to be ransomware and have to pay those big dollars. So penetration testing is an engagement that's centered around a computer, a network, or web application of an enterprise. And it's focused on the security layer. And what it's trying to do is just find and test all your detection, prevention, and recovery capabilities during a penetration test. So lots of times when I'm talking to somebody, they mention the penetration test, and the good thing is, the good and bad thing is the penetration test means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So you can see these are just some of the penetration tests that we do, and there's a whole bunch of others that are kind of subdivisions of these. But in particular, the ones that we're going to pay attention to today are this opportunistic attack penetration test, a web test, and a compromised insider. We do all these other tests as well, and we'll actually talk a little bit about social engineering as well, but we do all sorts of tests like this. So how can penetration testing help prevent the breaches and the downtime? Well, one, the main goal is to reduce the risk of compromise by uncovering security weaknesses. So this is going a little bit beyond what you might be doing with your vulnerability management and actually testing your infrastructure to see what can be leveraged to do bad things. It's also very good to help maintain user trust. It is, people feel safer when they know, especially on a web app. It's like this web app has been tested by experts and it's been known to be resilient to security problems. And it's a very important thing to do to maintain user trust. It also helps you to prioritize risk spend. So what I mean by this is when we're doing a penetration test, we can spot out the worst of the worst and also say these are the things that you maybe don't have to worry about right now so that you can prioritize where you need to put up your prevention and detection dollars in order to do that. And finally, save insurance dollars. So a lot of companies, insurance companies now, because they've had to pay up so much in the ransomware attacks, they're limiting the amount that they're going to cover, or they're charging more for the premiums. However, one thing you can do is do regular pen testing in order to demonstrate to them that not only does your policy say that you're being secure, but it's been attested and tested by people in order to do that, to validate that your security controls are being effective. For compliance and regulatory requirements, PCI 100%, if you have to have credit card information in there, you 100% need to have a penetration test that's happening. In the past, it just used to be on the external. This year, they're adding in that you have to also do internal type penetration testings. For HIPAA, SOC 2, ISO 27001, you don't necessarily have to do a penetration test to meet the general requirements for them. But what you do need to do is be able to demonstrate how you are secure. And one of the easiest and best ways to do that is to actually do a penetration test. So most of these, like SOC 2, it actually just says, show me your penetration test results. So you definitely need to have one there. For insurance, because kind of as you see there, a lot of insurance companies are starting to require you to have a penetration test of some form in order to demonstrate their compliance. It's just like your safe driver record, for your car insurance. This is very similar to utilizing that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a step back and look at the top 3 types of penetration tests and examples of businesses that likely avoided breaches due to the testing that we conducted. If you know me at all, or as you get to know me, you'll know that there's always going to be some sort of cat picture, maybe a matrix or some kind of picture, but for sure the cat picture. So be prepared for some cat pictures. The opportunistic attacker. So this is an assessment from the opportunistic attacker perspective, which just means somebody that is maybe in their living room and just coming across something and decides to test to explore what you might have to offer to the internet. This is also known sometimes as an external pen test or a black box pen test, and often uses some sort of social engineering, whether that be phishing, which is like voice phishing, trying to get somebody to reset my password, or by calling the help desk, phishing, or that type of thing. So in our mission, what we are trying to do when you hire us to do a penetration test is we are doing a realistic simulation of how attackers are going to try to breach your external footprint. So we're going to look for anything that you might have exposed to the internet, which includes firewalls, VPNs, any web apps that you might have. If you have host intrusion prevention systems on systems that are exposed to the internet, how we might be able to take advantage of those. If we can escalate privileges and do lateral movement, so once we get into a system, can we do anything to move inside the network, and also looking for information leakage. So if you use GitHub, for instance, did you accidentally put up any API keys into there? And then we also like to work with you after the fact or during the engagement to say, did you see when we did this type of thing? So here's an assessment that we recently did. This assessment was for a very large global, we'll call them an IoT provider. They had a huge footprint. We started with like 15,000 different IPs that we had to look for on the internet. We found a system that had this, it's rated critical, but it's basically, it had this open port that allowed us to read information on this remote system. So that's not good. This is something that happens once in a while, but this is not good that this was exposed to the internet. However, the real problem was what happened next, in that we were able to then use that one finding in order to actually get onto that system. Then we were able to get onto that system and find out, they were reusing a password to do something else. There was some information that was stored on that system that allows us to access other types of other systems that were inside of their network. This allowed us further access to other systems in the network. So that's why there's a picture of the coconut. We got through that hard shell and we got into that juicy coconut coconut meat in order to go from there. So this is very bad because once we're inside the network, everybody thinks about making sure the external footprint is secure. But if there's one problem, and from that one, it seemed like a fairly trivial problem, in that we could read and write files. We now had access to their internal networks. So that was a good finding. And then speaking of internal networks, this is if our testing for internal networks we call it compromised insider. This assessment determines the risk by, if you got malware on your system, for some reason a malicious attacker got on your system, maybe they joined your Wi-Fi, maybe they plugged into a network, maybe even it's an insider threat that you're thinking about. What this is doing is looking to uncover any internal misconfigurations, weak passwords, vulnerabilities, inadequate access controls within the network. Sometimes this is called internal pen test, breach and attack simulation, and assumed breach. What we're doing here is we're identifying some opportunities for your organization to improve security controls, such as looking to see if there's things that are accessible by people that shouldn't be, can data leave your network without you noticing it, looking for anomalous type behavior. We also tend to test as part of this, whether your antivirus EDR or host intrusion prevention systems are actually alerting the way that you think they're supposed to be doing, and also looking to see if you can detect anonymous network activity, or as we're looking at things like Active Directory, which is looking for unknown user behavior analytics. So an example for this one was we were doing an assessment, and in this assessment we had one of our devices basically inside of their network, and we were able to listen to things as they went through over the network. And one of the things you can do is pretend to be a server, and so we were using this tool called Responder in order to pretend to be a server in order to get people to send us their encoded credentials in order to access, as if there was something that they really needed to access on our network. We were able to then leverage those credentials in order to get more credentials, and created a generated word list based on some of the passwords that were decrypted in order to get information on there, and then basically leverage that single credential in order to get more credentials, and then eventually we're able to access their domain controller and get the domain admin across all the endpoints to decrypt. Basically, we had control of everything. So what would happen if they didn't do what if they didn't ask us to come in, if the bad guy would have came in and did something like this? This 100% is exactly what happens with malware that is going to go in for ransomware. So they get into the network and they shoot for becoming the domain admin, because that's the easiest way in order to deploy their ransomware. And and this would have definitely happened should they have been compromised by someone that was not us. Am I doing okay? Not too bad. Final one that we're going to look at is web application assessment. So in this assessment, the goal is to make sure your applications are more resistant to security threats by identifying security weaknesses and vulnerabilities. The assessments that typically fall into this are web assessments. Webs normally use some sort of API, so API assessments, and then mobile. So mobile also typically will use an API, might even just be a slightly different version of the web in order to present this web application. So web application is something that we do a lot of. Lots of companies, of course, have many web applications or mobile applications in there. So what are we doing when we're doing this web application? Well, we're trying to validate the security in this particular case that I'm going to talk about. Our mission was to validate the security of a web portal for a device that gathered building metrics inside. So just to give a little bit of a background on this one, this company created a device that you would insert into your network, and it would measure something inside of your network, and then it would call back and send the information that it received up to this cloud template, or cloud collector. Then you would be able to use the information from this cloud collector to make some decisions about how your building was running. So like a building access system, a BAS system, is basically what this was. The thing is that this needed access to the internet, and for many companies, when they need to have access to something in the internet, they're just going to plug that thing right into the same thing that everybody else plugs into, which means that it's going to be as part of the production network. And so we need to make sure that nobody can use this device to pivot into the production network. So what did we find? So this one, we found something called SQL injection. So basically, when it was gathering some of that information, it was putting it into a database. We were able to run database commands on that system through one of the query points in the web application, and then in this case, it was something called blind SQL injection, which just means we can send queries, and based on how it responds, we can tell whether or not we're successful, and we're able to actually write some SQL commands in order to do various things. So there was no separation between an input and what's code, which meant we could use one of our inputs and make the system run code for us. oh, actually, I can just go previous to this. The bad thing about this one is this was running a Microsoft SQL Server, and it was a slightly older version of Microsoft SQL Server, which is very susceptible to us being able to run a command on there, a SQL command that can be ran as the operating system instead. So it's not only could we access the database, which is bad enough, however, the data on this wasn't really that critical, but what we could do is actually run commands on that SQL server in order to do other things. So one of the things we could do is run a command on the SQL server in order to look around the network and do other types of things. So we could use the command to ping a certain IP, or we could use that command in order to grab access to do an LDAP type query if they're in Active Directory. So what would have happened if we hadn't been testing this and they found it? This is 100% an example of a supply chain attack. If you're bringing in this third party, you've plugged this in, you've done what they said, gave it access to the internet. However, what you didn't realize is giving it access to the internet also meant that the person that had access to that cloud controller could also run any commands on it, and it could interact with anything that was in the same network as you were in. So if this would have happened to that company, they would have been in a lot of trouble. They would have lost the trust of their clients, which is one of the things we talked about potentially losing. So thankfully, we were able to get that. They were able to fix it fairly quickly, and they didn't have this issue. Finally, one of the things I want to just talk about is the report. It's very important to, like, at the end of the day, you're paying for the report. We do a whole bunch of different things, but what you really care about is the report and what you need to do in order to make sure you're doing those things to protect your company, protect your clients, and make sure you're compliant. And we do this, we take a lot of great pride in our reports. We like to make sure that we're identifying the security gaps and classifying them appropriately according to business risks, so that again you can prioritize what's the most important versus what can maybe wait for a little bit, and also making sure that if you have any compliance requirements such as PCI, calling those out to say you shouldn't do this first. Our first and most important thing is always to make sure you're improving your security posture. And also, when we write these types of things, if you have multiple teams, so dealing with operations, security, maybe network, making sure that we're trying to write for that audience and presenting for them. And we also do this educationally when our goal is for you to be able to take the report that we provide and be able to actually just kind of follow it step by step. There's some knowledge that you'll have to have in order to do that, but we do try to educate you so that after we leave, you can follow the steps in order to be able to do something similar yourself. For any of our penetration testing that we do also always include the ability to retest within a certain block of time to make sure that if we do find something critical like that SQL injection and you have it mitigated, we will retest to verify that the mitigation hits the way that you wanted it to. So just in summary, there is a cost to errors in security detection and protection assumptions. The more you know about your security footprint and the security stance is, the better you'll sleep at night, trust me. And there are so many different kinds of tests. Find someone that will help you to choose the correct one for your unique needs. So I did see that some chats going by, but I didn't read anyone. I think Tim might have been.
I was talking to myself a little bit in the chat. Uh, just to kind of, tie this all together for the attendees, right? You may be wondering, what's the difference between my compliance requirements on a vulnerability assessment and a penetration test, right? Think of the vulnerability assessment as just identifying what vulnerabilities are live and active within your environment. Then think of a penetration test as that next step to see how those vulnerabilities can be exploited to, compromise your systems, compromise your users, compromise the information that you have within your environment. So that's the key difference between those two. And that's the way you can kind of delineate and differentiate between what your compliance requirements are asking you to do.
Cool. Yeah, and like your web apps as rooms in the house. Yeah, that's a good analogy too there. Just reading that. Yeah, so just as a future, what we're planning to do is we're going to be alternating a little bit between higher level type talks like this one once a month, and then more technical deep dives, like looking at a particular SQL injection. And for instance, not that we're going to do that one, but eventually it could be something like how did we actually do that SQL injection, and going step by step in order to do those types of things. So we're also very open to feedback, anything that you might want to see or have us do, please feel free to do that as well. If you have more questions, of course, trust me, this is a safe thing to scan. It's okay to use that. It's going to just take you to that link that's on there. And we would be very happy to talk to you at any time. Or if you just have general questions about Arctic at all, we're just across arctic.com/contact us. We're happy to help in any potential way we can.
If you like Cliff's cat pictures and my jokes, we will be going on tour this summer. We will be in a city near you, so be on the lookout for that.
Luck for us. Cool. Thank you, everyone. We'll hang out for a couple more minutes, so if you have anything that you want to chat about, feel free. Otherwise, I thank you very much for your time. I know time is precious and not something that we all have unlimited amount of, so I appreciate you coming. Thank you.